Morning, everybody. The Board of Supervisors oversees in-person elections, sets the county tax rate, and approves the budget. So we've got political consultant Marcus DeLartino back again in the new year. Marcus, good morning, and thanks for being here.
Good morning. I couldn't be happier to be here this morning. Thank God school's starting, everybody.
School's starting today for a lot of families out there. You do work with the Board of Supervisors. So first off, you know the board well, you know the makeup well. Talk about some of the changes, because we're going to have 3 new supervisors, and it's only a board of 5, so majority change starting today.
Yeah, it's this is one of the bodies that the Democrats really thought that they had a chance to actually take the majority. And as we all know, the turnout didn't turn out the way that they thought. So it actually remains to a 4-1 Republican majority. Clint Hickman, who was in the 4th District, has retired and moved on and wanted to go be in private practice. And so Debbie Lesko, former Congresswoman, will be taking his place. Former legislator Kate Brophy-McGee steps into District 3. And then Mark Stewart into District 1, where Jack Sellers was. So, you know, from the context, I expect it to stay relatively the same, even though there's different faces there, because you still have a 4-1 majority. But I also think that there's going to be some excitement to accomplish things. Chairman Thomas Galvin has already said he wants to start to look at how we speed up elections. I think that'll play a big part in this next year.
So let's talk a little bit about that. We know that it takes time to process the ballots, and people can turn in their mail-in ballots up until 7 o'clock on election night. What potentially could we see change when these 5 supervisors, again, are all sworn in and start working together starting today?
Yeah, remember, all of this is based on state law. So they've actually got to work with state legislators to be able to change that law to affect any real changes on how these ballots are processed. But I think one of the things that the focal point in the last month or so has certainly been about those early ballots and dropping them off at the polling place on election day. And so the focus is going to be on putting a time limit probably on when you can drop those off. Maybe it's the Friday before the election. And then those ballots can get processed a lot faster.
So this is certainly a topic of conversation we're going to hear a lot about, and it impacts everybody in Maricopa County who votes. Something else that impacts Maricopa County: the Diamondbacks. We know there has certainly been some disagreements about Chase Field. What do you think the board will do, and how much of it is a priority to keep the D-backs at Chase Field playing in downtown Phoenix?
Oh, I think it's definitely a priority for everybody. And it's certainly in the state's best interest to keep the Diamondbacks here. And I think that that'll be the focal point. We know that the Diamondbacks are going to be talking to the Arizona legislature about some potential fixes and revenue streams to be able to keep the stadium going and make some renovations. And then it's going to be part of the Board of Supervisors is going to be also working with the legislature to make sure that those solutions are in the best interest of the taxpayers.
Anything else that you're watching this year when it comes to you at home, the taxpayer, and impacts that the board potentially could have in these new supervisors?
Yeah, I think, remember, the Board of Supervisors is essentially the purse strings for all of county government. So I do know that they're going to be looking at some public safety issues because we've got a jail tax that's due to expire in next year, not this year. But you got to start setting the groundwork for that. And it would be a continuation of an existing tax that funds your jails and your operations and how we take care of those jail inmates.
Marcus DeLartino, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks so much for getting up early. Had a couple weeks off. Now he's back at it. The state legislature starts next week as well. So certainly a busy time, Scott, when it comes to politics here in Arizona.